Getting back to the basics. Burn out, burn out. Welcome to the Big Sky Investor Show. I have had my coffee this morning and I am doing fantastic. I hope you are as well. If you don't know me, my name is Luke Anderson. I'm the host of the Big Sky Investor Show, and I am thrilled that you have decided to join me today. Today, excuse me, drink some more coffee here. Today I wanted to talk about getting back to the basics, and that's something that I've been doing personally in my life and my businesses right now. And I guess I kind of started in the last episode earlier this week, that little bonus episode of talking about specifically about wholesaling. So an aspect of my business is wholesaling. And I don't know why I started with wholesaling on the podcast as far as like this little mini several episodes series of getting back to the basics, but it just kind of seemed the logical step because that's where I started in real estate, was in wholesaling. And anyway, so I want to make sure that I am very clear on what I'm doing and in my businesses. So I felt like I was overcomplicating things, and just thought, you know what, Luke, you just need to get back to the basics. I had a mentor who told me, he's like, you need to just get back to the simple, why you're doing what you're doing, and the simple part of how you do what you do. So really going back, looking over my business plan, great. I focus on buy and hold. Well, this is my criteria, and anything that doesn't match my criteria that I get a lead on that looks like it could be a deal that I know that I will consider looking at. And if it doesn't end up fitting my criteria, then I will wholesale the contract. So anyway, so that's why I started with the wholesale, just explaining that term, what that means, kind of how to go about it very briefly. And today I just kind of wanted to talk overall about getting back to the basics in life and in business. And then I'll do another episode about some specific term or concept or strategy that I'm that I'm familiar with. I'm not going to go into stuff that I'm not familiar with. And I mean, maybe I'll address a strategy that I haven't used, but I understand it to a point, but I'll let you know if that's the case. Like, as an example, I've looked into short-term rentals. Have I done a short-term rental? No. I know people that do. I've done a lot of research on it. I've talked to a lot of people that do them and studied it a bit, but I haven't personally done it. So I may talk about it a little bit just to let you know that it's an option. At some point I may talk about that more, but like in that specific example, that's something I personally have not done. So I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. Anyway, so a little more coffee there. So getting back to the basics, what does that mean? What does that look like? That may mean something different for you. For me, like I said, I was feeling like things were just getting out of control, overwhelming and a bit. And I had a mentor who said, you just need to simplify things. Get back to the simplistic version. Like when you started in any one of your businesses or when you started a project, just get back to why you started it and what are the core elements that go into that. So as an example, specifically in real estate, like I was just mentioning, I thought back to why I got into real estate. And I've mentioned this before on the show. I've never thought real estate was very sexy. And it is very cool how it can provide generational wealth. And now that I've learned more about the real estate arena, there are a ton of options. I mean, oh my gosh, you can do there's so many different ways to do things, which is cool. But it's still, to me, it's something that you do because it makes sense and it provides the results that I'm looking for. But I'm not like super passionate about real estate. That's just me personally. Some people are. They tend to be fix and flippers. No, a lot of them do, I guess. But I'm not super passionate about real estate. I'm passionate about the results it produces for my family. A few episodes back, I talked about building a coat of arms and leaving a family legacy. And real estate can help me do that. Real estate can help me achieve a lot of what I want to achieve personally for myself and for my family. There are specific strategies that I utilize now and that I want to utilize in the future. But it is very easy to overcomplicate business, right? And even more easy to complicate a real estate business because there's 1.5 million ways to do just about anything. Excuse me. So that's why I wanted to get back to the basics for me personally. I started going back through some of the original training content where I learned some of these concepts. I started going back through that and getting back to, okay, this is the core elements. Like I said in my last video on wholesaling, like there's really 3 core elements to wholesaling. Okay. I need to get back to the core elements of that I need to be focusing on in buy and hold. I can focus on 100,000 things, but what are the core elements that I need to be focusing on, and what are the things that I need to delegate? So that's what I'm doing in my real estate business. Also, the other part of that too is what other strategies do I want to look at implementing, and am I trying to implement those too fast, or am I trying to learn about those too early? As an example, like I said, short-term rentals. Short-term rentals I do want to do in the future, but it doesn't fit where I'm at now. So I need to be very careful that I don't get distracted going, ooh, shiny. Because if you're listening to this, you're probably entrepreneurial. Maybe you are an entrepreneur and you have a business or multiple business ventures. But when people who are entrepreneurial tend to get the oh shiny moment, we've all heard that before. Oh, I can make money doing this. I can make money doing that. And they just left the other thing in the dust. Very easy to do. We've probably all done it. Vast majority. So I need to be very careful of that because I have fallen into that trap time and time and time again. And I need to be very careful with that, me personally. So I need to stick to what I know, what I have learned, what I have set up as or identified as being important for me, achieving my goals, my missions, my family's goals, my family's missions, and produces the best results long term. Now, do I think short-term rental fits in there? Yes, absolutely. Just not at this point. Notes investing. There's a guy that I really want to have on the show in the future once we get a little bit more into this. And I've met him a few times. I've talked to him. Awesome guy. And he talks about notes, and he's like a pioneer in notes. And I think that would be really cool to have him on the show. So we'll see if we can make that happen. Anyway, I want to continue to learn about notes investing because that is a strategy that makes sense to me. I can see the longevity of it. I can see how it can be very, very passive if done correctly. I really like the concept of it. So those are 2 strategies that I'm not implementing that I want to implement in the future. So I need to make sure that I'm identifying when it will be appropriate to really dive into those so that I don't distract myself now. Because I got kind of excited about, I'm going to learn about short-term rentals. Oh, back off. Oh, notes. I'm going to learn about notes. Oh, back off. So I gave myself enough education that I go, those are strategies I want to implement, just not now. So thankfully I have that self-awareness. But it's taken a lot of time to develop. Anyway, now I'm rambling. But getting back to what I was saying is identifying those things, those core elements, right? So the core elements for me in my real estate business are buy and hold, wholesaling, private money relationships. Those are like the 3 core elements that I need to, like 10,000 foot view. Those are my 3 focuses. Okay. Now when you dive in, they each have core elements in of themselves. Within buy and hold, there are certain things that I do and then certain things that delegate. Mostly delegate because there's a lot that goes into buy and hold. A lot of gears and cogs in the machine. Wholesale, there's not as many, and which I went through in the last episode. And then with private money, there's even less. It's just truly about identifying people that want to do something different with their money and building a relationship with them. So I'll do another episode and talk a little bit more in depth on that as well. Now, I've been applying this also to my other businesses. So my marketing company, we actually are in the process of doing a company restructure. Company restructure maybe is not the right word. A company refocus and a bit of a rebrand a little bit. Not rebrand, but I'll just call it a refocus. That's probably the best way to put it. So we have refocused, re-identified who we want to serve, what problems we want to solve, and where we want to do this at, and to what scale we want to do it at. And it's radically different than it was when we first started. However, the core principles of why we started the company have not changed. We want to help business owners to thrive and succeed, to get their message out, to be known, to build a brand. And we have specific tools that we use to make that happen. So when we first started, the main tool we knew how to use was social media. We knew how to build websites on specific platforms, but we are mostly excited about social media. Now, we've struggled because we don't like being branded as a social media agency. One, there's kind of a bit of a sour taste in our mouths with that term. So we've been trying to get away from that, but that's really what we've been doing. Or that's been the biggest tool we had used starting out. Over the last couple of years, though, we've been in business for a few years. Over the years, we've started to implement different strategies and start putting in different aspects to our business, and we didn't have a name for it. And so right now we are in the process of changing over from a social media agency, calling ourselves a social media agency, to calling ourselves a brand development agency. That's really what we do, is brand development. Excuse me. So we have, we're going through the process of changing that all over, and very, very excited about that. It's going to be awesome. And we've already, we're not even completely done with that, but just in that refocus and having that different mindset and that different self-awareness about us and what we're passionate about and what our company is about, has already started to attract our different clientele to us. I mean, it happened within a matter of days. Once we made the decision, we're going to change this, within a matter of days, we started attracting this different clientele that we wanted to serve. More specific clientele, I should say, not different, because we're still primarily focused on local business owners. Now we are looking outside of Montana, because initially we're just going to do billings in Montana. We thought really, really small. And we do have clientele in 3 states, I think, 2 or 3 states. And we have one in another country. Just kind of how it's kind of just how it worked out. But anyway, so out of this idea of getting back to the basics, we were able to take our company that was kind of stuck, honestly. All right, sorry if there's a little bit of a chop in the audio. Had a little technical difficulty there for a second. So my apologies there. So anyway, we took what I was saying is we were taking a company from being stalled out and not really knowing how to get it going again, to have then all of a sudden developing this self-awareness of really what we really want to accomplish, and how we really want to accomplish it, and going, we're not a social media agency, we're a brand development agency. That's really what we've been doing for our clients. We just didn't have that name for it. And so we have shifted, and we've already started to attract the clientele that we've been wanting to attract. The quality, like I mean, I'm trying to think how to word it. I guess the quality, like we're looking for a very specific group of business owners, and those types of business owners started to become attracted to us once we made that observation of ourselves, which was cool. So anyway, so getting back to the basics allowed our company to make that shift. And we haven't quite fully implemented it yet, but it's coming in probably the next week or so. So that's super exciting. And going back, another thing with more on the personal side of going back to the basics, I've talked about two businesses now about going back to the basics, but on the personal side of things, I've really taken back a focus of going back to the basics. Now, what does that look like personally? For me, it looks like more efficient or effective time blocking, or really the use of time blocking. This time is reserved for work. This time is reserved for working out. This time is reserved for family, that type of thing, right? And that those blocks are very protected. Like, this is work time. This is playtime with the kids. This is daddy going to the gym. So that's getting back to the basics. Now, in order to have those time blocks, you have to identify the core things that you need to be focused on. And for me personally, and I think I've briefly touched on it, like with some of the health challenges I've gone through, like I have to be very, very conscious of my health, because if I don't, everything else in my life tends to fall apart. So I have to be very focused on my health. That means eating right, eating frequently, eating often, right? Eating healthy, often, meals, snacks, so that my health continues to stay consistent. It means working out consistently. It means getting appropriate sleep at appropriate hours, instead of just, I'm going to stay up till 1 a.m. today, and then I'll wake up, I'll just sleep in later. Well, no, because then that ruins stuff. So trying to build a better routine, getting back to why I have those routines, going to bed at a certain time, eating certain foods, not eating certain foods, having a certain amount of time with my wife every day, every week, like just those specific, like going back to what I need to do, like what are the core elements of my life that I need to focus on, like the core 3, 4, 5 things, like what are those things that I need to have that core on, and then I need to cut out the rest. Now, one way I did this, I identified those core things, started going on how much time I wanted to put in. I was still kind of struggling on getting everything to fit into my schedule, and it's still a constant process. But again, I had a mentor that said, you need to eliminate the clouds in your life. Now, what he's referring to is that those clouds are the things that drain you, those things that distract you. Now, that could be Netflix. That could be scrolling Instagram or Facebook. That could be, oh my gosh, it could be taking 3 naps a day. I mean, I don't know, playing with the dog too much. I don't know. You'll know though. Like, just by me describing, I'm guessing you've already thought of 2 or 3 things that you're like, oh, those things. Even if you don't want to admit them, like, you know what your things are. So what I found is that there was those things, that three or 4 things that I went immediately. I'm like, I need to stop doing that. I need to stop with the phone games, the little silly phone games that are distracting, but they're kind of fun and they kind of give you like a break from reality for 15 minutes at a time or whatever. Phone games. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry because people spend so much time on these little phone games. Scrolling Facebook, scrolling Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Now, I go to YouTube for very specific purposes. That's how I've used YouTube. I know people that use YouTube as reality TV. That's their TV. They don't have a TV. Literally, I know people that don't have a TV and they just use YouTube, like on their computer or their phone. That can be one for people. Video games. Can be people. your mother, your mother-in-law, your father, your father-in-law, your second cousin, your, a fellow employee, a friend. It can be a wide variety of things. So my wife and I, we started identifying some of these clouds in our life, and there were things, there were technologies, there were people that we had to cut out. And lo and behold, wow, we have like this chunk of free time. Well, cool. Now we can utilize that to help us plug in those core elements again. The specific family time, the specific work time, the working out time, the specific couple time, specific time with certain family members that are not clouds, specific time with friends who are not clouds, developing those relationships in a healthy way. Now we have more time for that because we have identified the things that are sucking of our time and of our energy and of our emotions, and you get the point. So getting the whole theme of this episode is getting back to the basics. I've given you examples of 2 businesses of getting back to the basics, just real briefly, and my personal life. Another one, so I mentioned health in my personal life is very important to me. Now, getting back to the basics specifically in health is a whole nother rabbit hole that I went down, and I'm still going down and going, okay, what do I need to be doing? What are the core elements of what I need to be doing here? Now, since I have some stuff that I'm working through, like on a health challenge, health-wise, it's a little bit convoluted, but I do know some of the core basics, and I talked about them earlier, just a minute ago, of like eating right, eating often, working out, certain frequency of working out, the type of workouts I do, specific movements that I can do and specific that I can't do, and things like that. So anyway, I wanted to do this episode because I know that there's people out there that are overcomplicating things. And this really came about on being a part of some different groups and different, across multiple industries. But specifically in the real estate industry, I've seen this a lot, is people really overcomplicate things. Without fail, like the most seasoned veteran can just all of a sudden, they're like, I'm struggling on this deal, or I'm struggling on this. And they go into it and you're like, oh, I'm way newer than you are to this whole game, but seems like you're overcomplicating it. And they're like, yep, I am, So I've been seeing a lot of people overcomplicating things, and that's kind of what spurred it in my own life to making sure that I'm staying aware of that and that I'm not becoming I'm not doing that. So I thought I'd just share that, just because that's where I'm at in my business, and maybe that and life, and then maybe that can be beneficial to someone else. So I hope that makes sense. I know that was a little bit of a way I got a little interrupted there with some technical difficulties and stuff, and I'll cut out all that garbage. But anyway, I appreciate you joining me. That's all I've got for you. I will do, like I said, in the next few episodes are going to be focused more on specific real estate things, and kind of along the same theme of getting back to the basics in those specific things that I do. And then, like I said, I may carry on and do a few episodes of other concepts that that I haven't done, but I am familiar with. I think I said that right. I haven't done, but I'm familiar with. Just briefly, just to give you an idea of what they are. We'll see, because I don't want to promote stuff that I, like super hardcore promote stuff that I haven't done personally. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see what some of the feedback from some of the listeners is on that, and we'll go from there. I would love to connect with you. I am on Facebook and Instagram primarily, and my social media handles are Luke John Anderson, at Luke John Anderson. John is Jon, not John. So if that helps. Also, I did just change the YouTube channel, so I'd love for you to go and subscribe on YouTube. I actually created a channel instead of just on my personal one. So there is the Big Sky Investor channel, and you will find a playlist on there with all of the videos for this show. So if you want, if you wouldn't mind going and subscribing there, that would be awesome. And once we get up over 100 members, or excuse me, 100 subscribers, we can do some pretty cool stuff. And I want to be able to do some more things on that channel other than just this show, to provide more value to y'all. So anyway, make it a wonderful day, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next time.